So how does it all look? Is my hair good? It's all
The States, you don't grow up with the same understanding of the royal family.
Well, that's just not true.
I didn't know much about him.
Well, that's just not
January 2026. Meghan Markle believes she's finally outrun the shadow of her old Netflix days. Her lifestyle brand is climbing, her California mansion screams success, and every photo looks perfectly staged for the cameras. But behind that glossy image, something unsettling is allegedly unfolding fast. From a Florida prison cell, Ghislaine Maxwell, now serving a 20-year sentence tied to the Epstein scandal, is said to have dropped information that could shake Meghan's entire image. According to claims making the rounds, Maxwell has hinted at material that could reopen parts of Meghan's past she never wanted resurfacing. And this is where things turn explosive. Maxwell reportedly says she has documentation, a CV, a resume, dating back to Meghan's Hollywood years. Allegedly, this paperwork outlines professional activities,
An outfit that I would have worn. Her stories have changed so many times about what happens, when it happens, how it happens, with different versions. And each time she speaks, there's a different version. In fact, if you look at her BBC
that were never meant to become public. But here's the twist that sends shockwaves. Rumors suggest British intelligence may have been aware of this material long before Meghan married Prince Harry. Sources claim MI5 may have already compiled assessments, notes, and background files tied to Meghan's past. If that's true, then questions explode everywhere. Why stay silent? Who was being protected? And what information never made its way to the royal family itself? Because if these claims hold weight, what's now being revealed from inside a prison cell could threaten the entire Sussex brand in one brutal blow. Now here's why people aren't brushing Maxwell off so easily. She wasn't just a background figure in Epstein's world. She allegedly managed operations, facilitated introductions, and understood how elite circles move behind closed doors. She wasn't guessing, as she was inside those rooms.
Deeply frustrating to sit there and sort of see names of famous wealthy people. Yes, they were on planes, they knew Jeffrey Epstein, but you kept wondering, well, what else did they know? Did they, did they fund Jeffrey Epstein? And by the way, did Jeffrey Epstein then steal?
When Maxwell allegedly speaks about Hollywood networking in the early 2000s, she's referencing a world she reportedly had deep access to. Yacht gatherings, private events, and high-powered social connections were allegedly part of that ecosystem. That environment, according to claims, blurred the lines between business, influence, and opportunity. Tabloid reports from June 2025 suggest Maxwell claimed possession of a CFI connected to Meghan's pre-Suits era. According to unnamed sources, the document describes involvement in what were labeled elite entertainment circles and private arrangements with influential figures. Language carefully worded but loaded with implication. The phrase Maxwell allegedly used? Playing the adult game.
Simply because he liked her story. I mean, that's really how they became friends. Whatever she told him about how she wanted to become big, famous, wealthy, all of that sort of stuff, well, that really connected with Marcus, as I say, who started out as a waiter and now is a very influential mover and shaker on the social.
Vague enough to avoid direct claims. Specific enough that insiders say they know exactly what it points to. Professional companionship, elite networking, strategic access to powerful people. And here's the part that has people whispering. Maxwell is already behind bars with her reputation in ruins. She has nothing left to protect. No image, no career. So why would she randomly target Meghan Markle? That's the question everyone keeps asking. There's no clear benefit unless, and this is key, she believes the information holds value. In situations like this, documents become leverage. Information becomes currency, especially if it could be used during negotiations or appeals.
It was deeply frustrating to sit there and sort of see names of famous wealthy people. Yes, they were on planes, they knew Jeffrey Epstein, but you kept wondering, well, what else did they know? Did they, did they fund Jeffrey Epstein? And by the way, did Jeffrey Epstein then steal?
Maxwell, according to those familiar with her history, doesn't casually name specific people from specific eras without reason. If she's referencing Meghan's Hollywood timeline, critics argue it's because she believes the connections are real and provable. And now it gets even more intense. British intelligence agencies routinely vet anyone entering the royal family. That's standard procedure. Background checks, association reviews, and risk assessments are mandatory. According to reports from December 2025, MI5 allegedly compiled a dossier involving Meghan and Harry before the wedding. What's inside that file remains sealed tight, but insiders claim the assessments were serious enough to raise concerns at high levels. Think about it. If MI5 looked into Meghan's background, they would have examined her professional history, her social networks, and her Hollywood years. They would have spoken to people from that world. They would have mapped connections. Did they find references to elite social scenes? Did they uncover links overlapping with controversial figures? And if anything alarming surfaced, why didn't it stop the wedding?
To buy the clothes that they wanted to wear. She went to the high school where those girls might not have even the money to pay for their school lunches. Yeah. And she told them, I have a rich friend who would give you money to give him massages.
Those unanswered questions are now roaring louder than ever. Multiple sources claim British intelligence has deep monitoring systems that would have flagged any risky associations fast. One security expert pointed out that MI5 routinely reviews guest lists tied to royal events, spotting potential problems before they ever hit headlines. That's literally their job, prevent scandals before they explode. So if Maxwell's claims about Meghan's Hollywood-era activities are even partly true, MI5 would have known. They would have had reports. They would have briefed the palace. And yet, someone somewhere allegedly made the call to let the marriage move forward anyway. That's the part that raises eyebrows everywhere. Why would that decision be made? What calculation happened behind closed doors? Did officials believe Meghan's past could be managed quietly? Did they assume nothing would ever resurface? Or did MI5 warn the royal household and get brushed off? If intelligence officials said, "We have concerns about this woman's background," and the response was, "We don't care," then what's unfolding now could be the direct result of ignoring professional warnings. That's not scandal talk. That's cause and effect. Now let's dig into what Maxwell allegedly claims to possess.
Why not bring in like, I don't know, 2 or 3 seasoned reporters from, let's say, CNN and Fox News and, OAN, let's say, and have them come in and look at them, have them look at them. No recording devices.
According to reports, she says she has a professional CV from Meghan's years between graduating Northwestern and landing suits. That timeline runs roughly from 2004 to 2011, 7 long years where Meghan was reportedly hustling for small roles and struggling to break through in Hollywood. But here's where the story gets messy. Photos exist from that same period showing Meghan on luxury yachts in the Mediterranean, at exclusive Monaco parties, traveling internationally to events that most working actresses at that stage couldn't afford. So the obvious question hits hard: how was that lifestyle funded? Maxwell's alleged document supposedly answers that question. Tabloid sources claim the CV outlines networking activities with wealthy individuals, high-end events attended, introductions made, and services exchanged for access and opportunity. Carefully worded, but loaded with implication. Author Kirby Summers has previously documented yacht party invitations from 2016 that reportedly placed Meghan within elite social circles. Photographers and insiders have also pointed to Soho House as a recurring hub where influential networking happened non-stop. Put together, critics argue it forms a pattern: an ambitious actress leveraging access to climb socially.
Failure to fully investigate and prosecute Epstein's network means that powerful individuals who may have abused children and been blackmailed remain in positions of authority. There's still too much, in my opinion, there's still too much trust in government institutions.
And here's where it turns serious. If Maxwell's CV includes names, dates, and specific events, that stops being gossip. That becomes verifiable material. Investigators could cross-check travel records, event photos, witness accounts, and timelines. And the most damaging part? That CV would allegedly place Meghan inside elite social environments that overlapped with Epstein-linked networks. Not claiming she knew Epstein directly, that distinction matters, but operating within the same social ecosystem where Maxwell facilitated introductions. That's why people believe Maxwell would recognize the pattern instantly. She allegedly ran those networks herself for decades. She understands the strategies, she knows how access was gained, she knows what ambitious actors and actresses did to move in circles talent alone couldn't unlock. That's not speculation. That's insider recognition. And if MI5 had intelligence pointing to similar patterns, those connections would have raised red flags as security concerns before approving a royal marriage. Now, here's what really grabs attention. When Maxwell's allegations went viral in June 2025, Buckingham Palace stayed completely silent. No statement, no denial, nothing. That silence speaks volumes. If the claims were totally false, the palace could have easily said, "These allegations are untrue. Proper vetting was conducted." But they never did. Not once. So why stay quiet? Observers say silence suggests one of two things. Either denying the claims carries legal risk, or officials know discovery could uncover uncomfortable facts. If Meghan pursued defamation action, documents would surface, and silence implies the truth might be more complicated than a clean denial allows.
You start to see the contradictions. Things such as how they actually FaceTime before their first meeting weren't shared in their engagement interview, along with the discrepancies in the book Spare. It's another reminder of the inconsistencies in their carefully constructed narrative.
Look at the palace's position. If MI5 provided intelligence warnings before the wedding and the marriage went ahead anyway, that creates shared responsibility. But if MI5 failed to warn at all, that raises questions about competence at the highest levels. Either way, the quiet response leaves more questions than answers. And that's what keeps this story alive. So how did the palace supposedly miss red flags that Maxwell is now hinting at from inside a prison cell? That's the corner they're stuck in. Defending Meghan means risking two ugly admissions. Either officials knew about a complicated past and let it slide, or their entire vetting system collapsed under pressure. Neither option looks good, so silence becomes the safest move. At least for now. But here's the problem. The story isn't fading, it's getting louder. More details are surfacing, more people are asking questions, and every day that silence feels heavier, not lighter. Now think about Prince Harry's position in all of this. He walked away from his family for Meghan, burned bridges, lost trust with William, damaged his relationship with Charles, gave up royal duties, all because he believed Meghan was being unfairly targeted. But what if those concerns weren't baseless? What if the worries raised by William and Charles weren't gossip, but information tied to actual intelligence briefings? Sources claim Harry may have been kept in the dark about large parts of Meghan's past. According to insiders, she shaped the story of her Hollywood years. The narrative of a struggling actress pushing through on determination alone, Harry believed that version completely. But if Maxwell's claims hold any truth, and if MI5 really did have files suggesting a more layered reality, then Harry married someone he didn't fully know. That changes everything. The foundation of their relationship suddenly looks shaky.
He said that his wife and daughter were told to pause their efforts so that Harry and Meghan could have a private tour of the destruction.
Are you kidding me?
No. Real people there giving their time to work.
Real residents, people who have suffered along with their community, just doing hard, physical, emotional, economic.
Reports from December 2025 say Harry is furious and blindsided by recent developments. Friends claim he was hoping for reconciliation with his family. Instead, he's being hit with information that suggests his wife's past may be far more complex than he was told. And here's the harsh reality. If this blows up Harry's marriage, what does he have left? No royal role, no close family ties, no safety net. Everything he gave up was based on trust. And if that trust cracks, the fallout is brutal. Maxwell speaking from prison doesn't just threaten Meghan's image, it shakes Harry's entire life story, everything he believed, everything he fought for, all potentially built on incomplete information. Now let's break down how British intelligence actually works. MI5 isn't casual about royal security. They monitor domestic risks, including anyone who could compromise the royal family. When someone marries into royalty, the investigation goes deep, and we're talking deep. Financial records, travel history, personal associations, long-term patterns. They interview people from the individual's past. This isn't surface-level stuff. So the idea that MI5 accidentally missed major warning signs from Meghan's Hollywood years doesn't sit right with analysts. Intelligence agencies don't overlook patterns by accident. That leaves only a few possibilities. Either MI5 found nothing concerning, which directly clashes with what Maxwell allegedly says exists, or they found something and reported it, meaning warnings were ignored. Or they found something and chose to keep it quiet for political or reputational reasons. And there's historical precedent here. British intelligence has monitored royal associations before. Princess Diana's relationships were tracked. Wallis Simpson was vetted. Officials have stepped in quietly to prevent scandals long before the public ever knew. So the failure to address or prevent Meghan's alleged past from becoming an issue points to either intelligence failure or a deliberate choice to ignore intelligence. Both outcomes are damaging. Now here's the blunt truth. If Meghan had clean, airtight documentation proving her Hollywood years were exactly as she's described, that evidence would have been released the moment Maxwell's claims went viral. Immediately. No delay.
She's going through the story. And I think Meghan's trying to tell this magical sounding story here, but her behavior, her pattern is betraying her. I think she's unable to resist the urge to inject information that vaguely points to her being left out and hurt. And just from Harry's behavior, it seems like he's realizing that a lot of this stuff is kind of fake and he can't back down.
But that hasn't happened. Why? Because either that documentation doesn't exist in a way that supports her narrative, or releasing it would expose details she once kept private. Think about what full transparency would require. Financial records from 2004 to 2011 showing clear income sources, travel documents explaining international trips, statements from people who knew her during those years. If all of that supported Meghan's story, legal teams would have presented it within days. The fact that they haven't keeps the questions alive and the pressure rising. They didn't release proof. Instead, sources say Meghan's team issued one short statement calling the claims baseless, then went completely quiet. That move raised eyebrows fast. Silence like that doesn't read as confidence. It reads like avoidance. Critics argue this isn't how someone with nothing to hide responds. It looks more like a strategy. Deny broadly, accuse harassment, float legal threats, but never address the actual substance of the allegations. Because once substance gets examined, things get uncomfortable fast. And here's why Meghan is reportedly terrified of discovery. If she sued Maxwell for defamation, the door swings wide open. Maxwell's lawyers could subpoena financial records, travel logs, emails, witness testimony. Everything would be reviewed under oath. That's the nightmare scenario. Maxwell is already in prison with nothing left to lose. A lawsuit would force evidence into the public record, and she'd welcome that pressure. Meghan, on the other hand, would face intense scrutiny of every detail from her Hollywood years. That's why insiders say Meghan is avoiding legal action at all costs. Now picture what happens if Maxwell's allegations actually get verified. If that alleged CV surfaces and the details match travel records, photos, and event timelines, the fallout is immediate. First, Meghan's carefully built brand collapses. The survivor narrative cracks. Streaming deals vanish. Corporate partnerships run for cover. Everything tied to her image takes a direct hit. Second, the palace gets exposed. If MI5 missed this information, British intelligence looks incompetent. If MI5 flagged it and officials ignored the warnings, then the monarchy chose optics over institutional integrity. Either outcome damages credibility at the highest level.
The Daily Express US via the Royalist Netflix is getting ready to drop the axe and send this woman limb by limb into our woodshed. Meghan Markle has suffered a devastating setback as Netflix refuses to stock her as ever products in its flagship retail location.
Third, it validates those who raised concerns from the very beginning. Questions asked by William and Charles suddenly look justified. Public opinion shifts hard, not gradually, but instantly. And fourth, this part is personal. It could end Harry and Meghan's marriage. How does Harry stay with someone who may have withheld fundamental truths about her past? Trust doesn't survive revelations like that. The palace understands all of this, and that's why they remain silent. They're hoping Maxwell's claims stay allegations, hoping documentation never surfaces, hoping time buries the story. But hope isn't a strategy. Because Maxwell is sitting in prison claiming she has proof, and that's a ticking clock. Now let's talk about Maxwell's possible motivation. She's serving 20 years. She's in her 60s. There's a real chance she never leaves prison. But information has value, especially information that could embarrass powerful institutions. Authorities negotiate when intelligence serves a larger interest. Reduce sentences, better conditions, strategic concessions. That's how the system works. So if Maxwell claims she has documentation about Meghan's elite networking years, she's signaling leverage. She's essentially saying, I have something valuable, what can you offer? And here's the key point. That doesn't suggest the information is fake. It suggests the opposite. No one trades favors for gossip. If Maxwell is reportedly offering this material behind the scenes, it's because she believes it's solid enough to matter. That alone should make Meghan nervous right now. So where does this end? This story doesn't disappear until proof shows up, one way or the other. Either Maxwell's alleged CV becomes public and checks out, or Meghan releases full documentation proving her Hollywood years unfolded exactly as she's described. Right now, everything sits in limbo. Maxwell alleges, Meghan denies through silence. The palace refuses to comment. MI5 stays classified. Meanwhile, pressure keeps building. Online coverage is exploding, millions of views, social media flooded with theories. At some point, someone uncovers concrete evidence, and when that happens, there's no middle ground. Either Meghan is fully vindicated and critics look reckless, or Maxwell's claims are confirmed and Meghan's entire world collapses. Meghan appears to be betting that speculation stays speculation, that documents never surface, that time protects her. But Maxwell has nothing but time, and if she truly has what she claims, silence won't save anyone forever. Because secrets don't stay buried when documentation exists, and British intelligence doesn't forget what it's already seen. And right now, that silence doesn't sound like confidence. It sounds like pressure closing in fast. If you watch this and have thoughts, drop them in the comments below. If this breakdown made you see things differently, hit subscribe and stay locked in for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to see it.